It's Wednesday, so you know what that means. Give and Go show back in your life. We were off last week because it was the Thanksgiving holiday. Matt Modi is not going to be here this week. My name is Griffin Queen, joined by Matt Ferentinos. Modi is at a Nuggets game, I want to say. So he is doing something so much better than recording this podcast. As always, we're joined by super producer Elliot Shiatani. Before we get going, if you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you click the like button, make sure you subscribe, make sure you comment below anything that you want us to talk about on this or a future episode. If you're listening to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, any other podcast platform, make sure you follow, make sure you rate and review, make sure you tell your friends about us, and make sure you're tuning in every single week because we release these. We record Wednesday nights, so we release them soft Thursday morning, we'll say. Usually they're out by Thursday morning. Sometimes they're out by Friday morning. It can differ a little bit. Ferentinos, good to see you. How you doing?
Good to see you too, GQ. Hope you had a good turkey day.
I did. I had a non-traditional turkey day, we'll call it. Julia and I went. We've done this 2 years in a row now. We go up to Burbank, which is like an hour 15 away from where we live. And we do a seafood 4-course feast at this brunch place that like kind of overlooks LA. So it's good times. It's a lot of fun. It's not turkey. It's, in my opinion, many times better than turkey. But I hope you had a good turkey day as well. What'd you get into?
Just turkey, stuffing, gravy, some mashed potatoes, mac and cheese. And then about the same thing again at 8 p.m. and then 11 p.m.
Fantastic. Love that for you. Any major leftovers after the fact, or did you crush everything going into the weekend?
Also had everything, but just with a bagel from New Jersey the next morning. So,
God, that sounds amazing. I miss East Coast bagels, dude. That is one of the worst parts about being on the West Coast. I love it out here. But the barbecue is trash and the bagels are trash. They're just not good.
I'd trade it for the burritos though, and the weather.
All right, we can make that trade. You come out here and you bring me some East Coast bagels, and I will let you eat all of the burritos you would like. Let's get into basketball stuff. If you want to bounce to any nerd shit, we certainly can. I don't really have a ton of nerd stuff to talk about right now. Maybe next week when Modi is back, we'll wrap up the first half of the second season of Invincible. We'll talk about that one a little bit. I don't know if Modi is an Invincible guy, but I know Elliot is, so we'll get him on the pod for that one. Today, we are talking about the in-season tournament. We're talking about the quarterfinal round now that all 8 teams are set. We're also going to talk about Steph Curry and the Warriors a little bit, a team that is not in the in-season tournament because of the way that their game against the Kings went last night. They made sure that not only did they blow their chance for the in-season tournament, but they also lost to the Kings down the stretch. Before we talk about that, though, I want to talk about the in-season tournament. We've got out of the West, the number 1 seed Lakers taking on the 4 seed Suns, the 2 seed Kings taking on the 3 seed Pelicans, and then in the East, we've got the Bucks taking on the Knicks. That's the 1 and 4, and the 2 and 3 is the Pacers and the Celtics. Let's start in the West. Let's start with my Lakers. Thoughts on this matchup, and who's your pick to come out of this one?
I mean, Lakers are red hot, 4-0 in the in-season tournament with the best point differential. So things are pointing towards the Lakers, but they are running into the red hot Suns right now that have just won 7 straight games. Kevin Durant is personally on a tear in the in-season tournament in 3 games. I believe he's averaging 35.7 points per game. So he's been killing it. Devin Booker had a 40-point game, I know, and he's been insane too. I think the Lakers have matched up well with the Suns, as we saw earlier in the season with their wins against them. So I think the Lakers, I think they have a shot to win this one, but I'm going to have to pick the Suns despite them being down 7 right now to the Raptors.
I felt like it was so clear that you were going for the Lakers, and then you're doing the same thing that I did during the over-under pick for the Lakers. You then went in the other direction and you took the Suns. That's incredible how this keeps happening with the same team.
I want you to gas up the Lakers. We got to have
I'm not going to. I'm taking the Suns.
Hey, should have got my Suns jersey.
Yeah, you should have worn the Suns jersey. I should have worn. I mean, I'm wearing right now. The Lakers are playing the Pistons, and I'm wearing the Lakers Pistons hat for a series that they did not win. But I mean, what you said, like the Suns are hot right now. Yes, they are losing to the Raptors at halftime. Thank you for that one, super producer Elliot Chitani. But the Lakers are missing all of their wing depth. They're missing Rui. They're missing Cam. They're missing Vando, and they're missing someone else that I'm going to blank on right now, but they're missing 3 or 4 different guys on the wing. I don't see them being able to contain this Suns team without any of their best defenders outside of Anthony Davis. You know, those first 2 games, this could be their 3rd game against the Suns, and we're only about a month into the season. Those first 2 games, the Suns were missing people, and Booker and KD have been combining to put up just absolutely absurd games over the past couple weeks. They want this win badly over the Lakers. They want to knock them out of the in-season tournament. They want to get one back for the 2 losses that they've already got. I hate to say it, but I'm taking the Suns in this one.
It's weird. The Suns had some early losses to the Spurs, who are now 3-14. 2 of their wins were against Kevin Durant and the Suns, which is just weird to look back on to see how the season has kind of progressed. Everything in a small sample size. I was worried about my San Antonio over/under when I picked the under. Not too worried right now, but I'm with you, man. The Suns look really good.
We all took the Spurs under, didn't we? I think we did.
I think we all did. Yeah.
Yeah, that was one that we were pretty united on. Yeah, I mean, look, that happened last year too. If you remember, the Spurs came out firing, and they were like 6-2 or something like that to start the season, and then they won 20 games. Like they get off to a roll. They look good. They have good players, but they just don't have this particularly cohesive roster. And they're like trying to just experiment with a million different things. They're not trying to win games. I'm not worried about the Spurs. But yeah, in this one, I gotta take the Suns. One positive aspect to this is that this is going to be like the 3rd time in a really short period, or at least 2nd time in a really short period, where we're going to get to see Kevin Durant and LeBron James match up together again after not seeing it for like 4 straight years. We're seeing it multiple times in a few weeks. We don't have a lot of time left with these guys. I'm excited to see it. It's kind of a bummer that there's not going to be a LeBron-Steph matchup in the in-season tournament, but at the same time, I'm not upset that the Warriors didn't make it.
Oof. Yeah, the Spurs are 10-20 and then finished 12-40. That's quite a run.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. That's like the inverse of how the Lakers did last season. But I don't need to talk about the Lakers anymore. Let's move on to the next 2 teams. We've got the 2 seed Kings, who just punched their tickets to the 2 seed last night against the 3 seed Pelicans. Give me your thoughts on this one. This is a fun one.
Malik Monk called game, baby. He was killing it. That was fun. That was another just really exciting game. Kings Warriors. Draymond Green up to his antics with his crying on the bench. The flop that he had was insane, where he was just lying down and Steve Kerr was yelling at him to get up. Klay Thompson's been really off. I know you're going to bring up some stats about Steph Curry and just how he hasn't really looked. He's starting to look mortal. I mean, as like an undersized superstar, I think it is kind of insane, the longevity and the type of dominance that he's had, because typically as you get older and your physical attributes like your speed and agility, if those things go, it doesn't always help aging superstars kind of stay on top. So just as we're seeing those declines, Andrew Wiggins has been pretty bad for the Warriors. They just haven't really gotten the most out of their role players to really, I mean, at the start of the season, I thought, here we go again. Chris Paul into this lineup, trio kind of getting back to normal. They still could go on a little run that gets people a little more convinced, but I kind of feel like where they are now, more like a play-in team, it's kind of where they're going to be and end up. But we're not talking about the Warriors right now. We're going to talk about.
We are not talking about the Warriors. I know you want to talk about the Warriors. I want to talk about the Warriors too. I want to step on their graves, but we're not there yet. We're talking about the Kings and the Pelicans. I understand how you got sidetracked.
No, the Kings got 2 guys in De'Aaron Fox, who's just coming back from injury, who's been lighting it on fire, but also Sabonis as well. He's averaging, De'Aaron Fox in his 3 games played is averaging 36 points per game. He's a bona fide superstar. Another player that he was teamed up with, Tyrese Halliburton for the Pacers, also killing it right now. It's like, wow, it's like kind of like almost the Thunder. It's like the Kings had all those dudes on their team at like one time. But just Sabonis, De'Aaron Fox playing like a superstar. They're getting the most out of their scorers like Malik Monk. I think they're a really fun team. This is going to be an interesting matchup. I don't know. I like the Kings, the Pelicans. They've been getting some good play out of their rookies. One rookie is really fast. Jordan Hawkins. I know he's moving up the NBA.com rookie ladder. They've been getting some good minutes from him. I don't know. I think the Pelicans have like interesting things about what they're going to do with their lineups right now. I was listening to a little Zach Lowe about McCullough maybe coming off the bench because they're still, kind of clunky right now. But as far as the in-season tournament, I think that the Kings Pelicans is a really good matchup. I could see both of these teams coming out on top. We could get one of those first quarter like 30-point games from Brandon Ingram where he doesn't make a shot for the rest of the game. But I'm going to take the Kings. Enough of me rambling here.
I mean, I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to take the Kings. I am going to disagree with something you said at the beginning of all of that. You said that Kings Warriors was a fun, exciting game. And I could not disagree with you more. I thought that was one of the worst games I've ever watched until maybe 180 to 210 seconds left in the fourth quarter when it became the most exciting thing that I've ever seen because the Kings comeback was just so fucking lit. And the Draymond Green failures were so hilarious to see. They combined, I think, I might be off by a little bit. I think they combined for 72 free throws last night. And honestly, the Kings would have run away with that game if they had even hit a reasonable number of their free throws. I think they shot like 40 or 42 of them. They made like 25 or 30 of them. That is a bad night from the charity stripe. It should not have been as close of a game as it was. Another point that you made, all the guys that used to be on the Kings, I didn't realize this. Not the Kings. You said you compared them to the Thunder, right? You said the Kings are just like the Thunder, where you talk about all these guys that were on them. I had forgotten that the Thunder drafted Şengün a few years ago, who is the best player on the Houston Rockets. They then traded him for 2 first-round picks in the future. But can you fucking imagine Şengün on this team too? Like, I know there's a point where you have too many good players and nobody plays, but the best player on the Rockets right now wasn't even drafted by the Rockets, and he's still on his rookie deal. So, the Thunder are kicking themselves a little bit on that one. But much like we're not talking about the Warriors, we're not talking about the Thunder. I'm sticking with you. I'm taking the Kings. I don't really trust the Pelicans right now. CJ McCollum's still having the lung issues. I know he's questionable. I think he's day-to-day at this point. He might be back in the next few days to play against the Kings, but it's going to take him some time to ramp up. Zion has not looked particularly great this season. His numbers look good, but I think like as a player, he doesn't have the bounce that he had. He just generally doesn't look like who I want to see or what I want to see out of Zion. Brandon Ingram always looks great, but Brandon Ingram is not going to be enough to beat this Kings team that just is constantly going downhill and is just force-feeding teams points all the time.
I mean, Mike Brown just coaches them so well. I saw a clip of him just like really getting into the players and holding them accountable. And I just feel like something like the in-season tournament, like the Kings are going to want to win this. I think they're going to want it more.
Yeah. I think after last year's playoff, not failure, but early playoff exit, I think they want to, and people were saying at the beginning of this year, the Kings were regressing. And for a few games, they looked like they were not as good as last year. And I started doing a little bit of a victory lap because I said the Kings were going to regress. Right now, they look like a fucking wagon. They want to look like a wagon. They want to be a top 4 seed going into the playoffs so they can get home court advantage. I'm rocking with the Kings in this one. And so for the West Coast or the Western teams, we're going Suns and Kings to meet in the semifinals. And next week we can give our predictions for that one.
I say Kevin Meekins might be able to get an in-season tournament banner for his Sacramento Kings.
Yeah. Meeks, a Kings guy, a make-believe Kings guy, and Jack Schwinn, another good friend of ours, a make-believe Suns guy. I actually vividly remember, I'm pretty sure and this is to get in the weeds a little bit. We all got drunk one night. This is me telling a story. We got drunk one night and we put on 2K, and we had a CPU team play a CPU team, and I think it was Suns Kings. And that night, Jack was a Kings fan because I think we bet money against the girls that the Kings were going to win, and the girls took the Suns. The Kings ended up winning. Jack and I have never been more excited for an actual real NBA game than we were for this CPU-driven 2K game. But I think that was the start of his love affair with one of those teams, and Meekins loves to pretend to be a Kings guy. So it is a fun matchup. I'm looking forward to it. Let's move over to the East. We've got the Bucks and the Knicks. I will start on this one. I'm not going to overcomplicate it. I think the Bucks have been sneaky bad, but they're still like the second best team in basketball right now. So I'm just going to take them. Like, I'm not going to make this more than what it is. Like, the Knicks are good. I'm not going to say they're not good, but the Bucks are better than them. Like, they are, and they might lose this game, but they're still going to be better than them. So I'm going to take them. I'm not going to pick the lesser team to win this matchup.
And this is why you got Damian Lillard, right? Like, for these big games, for these big moments. And I don't know. There's I feel like there is something. Obviously, all these teams want it, but I feel like it would make a statement for the Bucks to come out and win the in-season tournament after getting Dame. I think that Giannis, just as a competitor, really wants this one. And I do feel like the Bucks have kind of owned the Knicks lately, so I feel like they have that edge for them. Similar to football, where it seems like the Cowboys can't beat the Niners or the Eagles. There's that big brother mentality. So I do like the Bucks for this one here. And yeah, I was listening to just interesting on Zach Lowe about how many times that Dame and Giannis actually run their pick and roll. And it is so much less than he runs it with anybody else on the team. We did see it a lot opening night against the 76ers. I wonder if in these important games, we're going to see a lot more of the Dame Giannis pick and roll. So if they especially pull that out, I think Bucks would be heavy favorites in this one. So I'm also with you. I'm taking the Bucks.
It's funny you say that because I saw a stat a day or two ago about the Anthony Davis, LeBron James pick and roll. They've only run that 6 times so far this season. And everyone is like, why are they not running that? Because you save stuff like that for big games. It's almost unbeatable when they're actually running it to prime efficiency the way the two of them can, much like a pick and roll with a good shooter and Giannis is going to go. So there's really no need to use it in the regular season and give guys looks against it when you're going to run it in the playoffs over and over and over again, and you're going to just put points on the board doing it that way. You don't want people to see ways to outwork that strategy.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Just what the other players around the floor are doing. You want to know what they're up to and how to counter it on defense. No, that is exactly a good point.
Elliot, before we move on to this last one, I want you to let us know in the chat, and we'll say it at the end of all this, your 4 picks for the quarterfinals as well, so that we can get these in here as well. And you don't have to have any long explanation for any of them. I just want to know who the 4 teams you are that you're picking. Let's move on to the final matchup of the quarterfinals. We've got the dynamo offense of the Indiana Pacers against the well-balanced, almost perfection, the virtuoso that is the Celtics right now. The Pacers are the higher seed. They're the 2 seed. The Celtics are the 3 seed. The Celtics almost did not even make it into the tournament, but because of the Nets win last night, the Celtics ended up, there was a bunch of teams that were 3-1, and I think they had the best point differentials of the 3 of them.
I say, to be fair, it's also the Bulls for losing by 24 points.
Yeah, so. Sure. Yeah, they were able to run it up on the Bulls team where things were not going great for them. I think Zach LaVine had 4 points. He had a really bad night. I think he was 2 of 9 on shooting or something like that. Just really terrible. The vibes are off in Chicago. But let's start with this one. Pacers, Celtics. Who are you taking?
My heart says Indiana, but my head says Boston, just because of the reasons you said. Indiana has the perfect offense, but I feel like Boston has the perfect ideal team. You have Tatum and Brown just as literally 2 of the top forwards in the league playing lights out. Porzingis picked up where he left off in Washington last year, which if you look at Washington this year, you realize that they did really need him on their team for even the wins that Washington had last season.
He was great last year. He was really, really good. He was our best player, like undoubtedly. And I was saying that all last year, and people were like, he's going to get injured. He played like 70 games. Like, what are we like? Come on, give the man his flowers.
And yeah, everything is just clicking on all cylinders. Holiday has like been everything and more to that defense. And I mean, it is an offensive game. I think you're going to lean offense, like if it comes to the two of them, but the Celtics can also outshoot any team. So I think it's going to be high scoring, but I'm going to take the Celtics on this one.
Yeah, the game does lean offense. I'm going to go in the other direction purely for that reason. I absolutely think the Celtics are the better team. And in a best of 7 series, I would take the Celtics 9 out of 10 times. But there is something about this Pacers offense that is just so in your face and so constant and so exhausting that if the Celtics try and shoot with them, instead of getting inside and slowing the game down and turning it into a grit and grind battle, if they try and shoot with these Pacers, I think the Pacers are going to win like 140 to 132 or something like that. I don't think there's anyone that can shoot with them right now. Like when Halliburton is going and when Miles Turner is going and when Buddy Hield is going, like when they're just all firing, it is a sight to behold. And I mean, like if you like defense, you're not going to get a lot of it. And like I do like defense. Like it's kind of a bummer that this Pacers team has such an obvious ceiling on where they can go because they straight up just don't play defense, and we know that that doesn't work come playoff time. But in a single elimination tournament where all you've got to do is put up an absurd number of points for one night to move on, I'm taking the Pacers, man. Like I want to see them move on. I want to see if they can do it against the Bucks. I want to see if they can do it against somebody in the West. Like I just want to see how far this Pacers plane can fly. I think that I don't know. Elliot's letting us know in the chat the Pacers are averaging 127.6 per game. The 73-win Warriors averaged 115. The 73-win Warriors, it's like the pace has changed in the past 8 years. Weren't they like the best defense in the league? Like, yeah, they were an incredible offense, but I think they were also like a top 3 defense. Yeah.
Which that's incredible.
Things have changed.
When the Warriors are doing what the Warriors are doing, we're like, okay, other teams are going to start to do this. And now I feel like who are the teams that are not doing that now, who are just firing off threes? Like every team is emphasizing the 3 ball. It's kind of insane that we are now witnessing and talking about the league that changed as a result of those 2015 to like late 2000s Warriors teams.
Elliot says bottom half defense that year. Were they one of the top 3 like playoff defenses then or something? I just remember their net rating like combined being something absurd. Maybe it was just based on their starting unit plus Iggy or something like that. It was a long time ago at this point. To your point about things changing though, Ferentinos, I was actually in a Reddit discussion a few days ago where it was in the Lakers subreddit, and we were talking about how Darvin Ham, the Lakers coach, follows the same defensive principles that Budenholzer with the Bucks followed, where he's basically like stay home and don't worry about 3-point shooters, let guys shoot. And somebody's point was, well, that worked because in 2021 the Bucks won a title, and it's like sure, but they needed one of the best players of all time in his prime, in addition to like multiple defensive player of the year candidate defenders to make that work. And it still almost didn't work. And the Lakers don't have the shooters to punish that kind of strategy because in 2018, 2019, guys were shooting 25, 26 threes per game. Now they're shooting 35 threes per game. If anybody shoots 35% from 3, you're putting 60 points on the board easy just from threes. Yeah. You can't, that defense doesn't work anymore. So I understand why everybody went in the direction of the Warriors. Personally, and then we can talk about this at a later time, I think it's boring. I don't like it very much, but I understand why everyone does it.
Did you, just because we're talking defense, I think we got our picks for the in-season tournament who we talked about, but Did you hear about like the Rudy Gobert darkness retreat? And that's what led to like the Timberwolves kind of creating the defense that they have now.
No, did Rudy Gobert do a darkness retreat and like rethink modern defense?
Just like Aaron Rodgers, Rudy Gobert had a little darkness retreat in the off season for 5 days, and apparently all he did was think about defense, and that's why the Wolves are dominating in defense as they are now. Interesting.
I'd love if he would think about offense. I would love if Rudy Gobert would go to a darkness retreat and think about offense. But
maybe that's
awesome. That's an awesome story.
But just you're seeing the style where you have all of the big men. They're switching a lot more and moving around and playing man instead of doing the drop defense that they were last year with Gobert. So instead of mixing philosophies, they're kind of sticking with the big man on the perimeter, big men running around the perimeter, asking guys like that to do more. And the Wolves are actually thriving and doing it.
You know who's,
I'm sure
who's thriving? Karl Anthony Towns. Karl Anthony Towns, for the first time in his career, looks like a good, maybe even great defender. So their change in defense, and I think they haven't talked about it a lot, but there's been buzz about this, that Rudy may have been injured last year, and obviously Cat was injured for all but 29 games of the year. So like there was no time to really build any sort of cohesiveness between them. But they look like a completely different team than the one that we saw last year. And the one that we saw last year wasn't bad. They just weren't very good. They were on the upper end of average. And then they looked good in the playoffs for the brief time that they were there.
I mean, the expectation that we have for these teams to automatically come in and kill it, it's kind of crazy too. The Heatles did not, they went to the finals their first year, but like they didn't win at all. And our expectation was that they would destroy absolutely everybody they played. And that was maybe the greatest super team ever put together. And now we're just talking about like a superstar pairing and how that like impacts the team. Like, I feel like having that time to build chemistry really is important. And I mean, just look at the Wolves this year.
I mean, people refuse to acknowledge it. And I do wish Modi was on this episode because I know he's got a lot of complaints about the guy. Rudy Gobert is a defensive superstar. I know he is not a superstar in the way that we traditionally think about a superstar, a guy who can go out and get you 30 and 7 every single game, but he is a defensive system in and of himself. He is a Dwight Howard. He is a Ben Wallace. He is a Draymond Green, where he's not a Jaren Jackson Jr., a guy who can win Defensive Player of the Year because he's got really gaudy stats, but he needs a lot of good defenders around him to make it work. Rudy Gobert has taken a lot of bad defensive teams with bad defensive players and made them top 6 defenses. That's incredible. No one else does shit like that outside of maybe Draymond Green. And Draymond Green does it in a very different way than Rudy Gobert. I fucking love the season that Rudy's having. I love the season the Wolves are having. I wish they were in the tournament. I think they were also 3-1. So it was another point differential reason for missing out. But they're a nasty team, and I hope they keep it up. I know that that's unrelated to the in-season tournament, but I am here for the Wolves' dominance. Before we move on to the Warriors, the DM, he had Lakers, Kings, Bucks, and Pacers. Nothing wild is what he said. I think Pacers over Celtics is a little wild.
Dang, I thought Don't Care was going to win out this time.
Yeah. Don't care is his preferred option. It's funny that as you said that, he literally put they care more. So that's weird timing. But let's move on to the Warriors. We're just going to talk about them for a minute, and then we're going to get out of here. We don't need to have a long episode today. Basketball has been dope, but we're missing Modi, and I think we're all kind of busy with the holidays. The Warriors look like dog shit. Let's call it what it is. Steph Curry.
Maybe just the name of the segment, a recurring segment. I would love that.
I would.
The Warriors look like dog shit.
Is it going to be the Warriors look like dog shit, or this team looks like dog shit? I think we should do that. I think that's a good idea.
I mean, we could expand on it, but we could just like bring in a Warriors reference every time we do the bit.
How many weeks are in an NBA season? Like 30 some, maybe? How many weeks do you think we could fill with just the Wizards? We could probably do like 26 weeks of Wizards.
Just Jordan Poole highlights, I think we could do.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Did you see the one, sorry to move on, where he he got a defender to like fake and go on the ground, and he like stares down a layup, goes to do the layup, and still gets blocked. Like he is just a Shaqtin' a Fool highlight.
Yeah, yeah. Did he try and lay it up, or did he try and like finger
No, he was,
roll
like,
it from like
taunting, like,
kind of far away? Like, yeah, it was
like, he was,
weird.
like,
He went to like a
looking,
weird
looked at the
shot, and then he
guy,
like, yeah,
left it
not
up in
great,
the
Jordan
air.
Poole. Not great, not great. Didn't love it. He had a really good game a few nights ago, but they ended up losing a close one to the Bucks. So no one's gonna care. I think he had like 30 and 5 or something like that. Not that it was efficient, but you know, I'll take what I can get. Yeah, the Warriors don't look good. Clay looks cooked. Draymond continues to have these emotional outbursts. Steph Curry, Elliot mentioned this to us before we got going. He's shooting really well. Like his shooting is still incredible. His shooting has not regressed at all, which is, I think, the thing that most people expected to start regressing in his mid 30s, just because he requires separation for a lot of the things he's doing. But his assist to turnover ratio is the worst of his career by far. Right now, he's averaging 4.1 assists and 3.8 turnovers. That's like you're only slightly averaging more assists than turnovers. That's Jordan Poole numbers. That's crazy. Thoughts?
You know, I gotta watch him more. I wonder if is he just doing more off ball and not creating as much since Chris Paul came on the team. Like I feel like when he was doing the emphasis on actually creating the offense instead of just being the guy that kind of runs around and never stops moving, he was getting plays. I wonder if it's just the Warriors as a unit aren't as cohesive as they were too, because I feel like a lot of their assists were hockey assists where even if Steph isn't the one to directly create it, like he'll get a pass off a give and go and then hit someone cutting in the middle that will then get an easy bucket. Like I feel like they just
Nice give and
we
go.
need a sound. Yeah,
I love when we say give and go
it.
on the pod. It makes me so happy. Yeah, I mean that's a good point. You know, there's a lot of hockey assists that he's had previous years. Chris Paul is definitely taking away from some of the point guard responsibilities when they're on the court together. You know, Draymond Green has always kind of brought, not always, but in a lot of situations has brought the ball up. And then it's kind of been the two of them working in tandem. So their assist numbers, just as a unit, have never been as good as they could have been as individuals. But a lot of it is, you know, Wiggins isn't making his shots. Klay Thompson's not making his shots. Draymond's not making his shots. Looney is playing, you know, relatively well, but basically there's not a ton that you can do with him outside of just feed him the ball inside. And then Steph's not protecting the ball. I mean, that's always been a complaint about Steph, going back to him throwing the ball away in the finals to essentially lose the game in Game 7. He doesn't protect the ball, and he's always made up for that by having, you know, 7 or 8 assists in addition to just the crazy shooting numbers that he has. This year, the assist numbers are down, and it's just it's not making up for it. Like he's losing games with how much he's not protecting the ball.
So just a random thought, we could do another bit. Teams where Şengün would be awesome on. Wouldn't he be so awesome on the Warriors? Like
he'd
I
be
feel like
incredible. He'd be a Draymond replacement.
Yeah, like
or a Saric
like
replacement. He is literally the best idea of what like Saric, what the Sixers thought Saric was going to be when he was like a rookie. It was like this kind of like combo forward that could do a little bit of everything, but was a really good passer. And then Saric never really got that much better. Whereas Şengün is looking like he's on the Jokic or Sabonis path a little bit, where he's getting significantly better every single year. Yeah, Şengün would be incredible on this Warriors team. So I'm really glad he's not on
it. Good thing there's not a lot of Thunder to Warriors trades. That would be trouble.
I don't ever see that happening. I don't think the Thunder ever are going to want to trade with the Warriors unless they're getting a lot of picks out of it. I think there's excuse me. I think there's a little bit too much bad blood there after the Kevin Durant stuff. So, you know, doesn't upset me that they're not giving up any of their prize picks or players to the Warriors.
All right, so just to end this Warriors bit, they're not looking great. They're 8-10 right now, which is the 10 seed in the West. Where do you see them finishing out at the end of the season?
Let me look at the standings overall real quick. So they're 8-10. They've got the Clippers, the Jazz, the Trailblazers, the Grizzlies, and the Spurs behind them. I think they're likely going to finish in the 8 to 10 range. I think your top 4 teams, you're probably going to be, Minnesota, Denver, maybe Phoenix. Dallas, I'm really not crazy confident in, but I think OKC will probably be up there. The Kings will be up there. Lakers are probably going to be like a 5 or 6. Houston looks nasty. They're probably going to be in a 5 or 6 to 7, 8 range.
Which is crazy.
A lot of it is likely going to come down to, do the Pelicans stay healthy and do the Clippers figure it out? If those 2 things happen, the Warriors are probably a play-in team. Like they're on the outside of the play and they're at 9 or 10. If the Pelicans get hurt and the Clippers do not figure it out, the Warriors are probably a 7 or an 8. So a lot is going to be based on not even so much how well the Warriors do. It's going to be how well do the 2 teams in front of them do. I don't think the Warriors are going to make a lot of noise, though. I just don't think they have it this year. I think we may have shoveled dirt on their grave a little bit too early in 2021, considering what they did in 2022. But I think we're getting to that point. Steph Curry's 35. Klay Thompson looks like a shell of himself. Draymond Green has made the entire league mad, and he is visibly regressing physically. I think this is it. I don't think they've got anything else they can pull off at this point.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, in like a best of 7 series, I would take every team, with the exception of like the Pelicans if they got injuries. I would take the Wolves, Nuggets, Suns, Mavs, Thunder, Kings, Lakers, and Rockets all in a 7-game series right now against the Warriors.
Yeah, the only one that I would struggle with a little bit of that list is the Rockets because of how young they are. Dylan Brooks, not a young guy. FVV, not a young guy. Like they got vets, and they've got, and I know I shit on him before the season started, but they've got a coach who clearly is not afraid of the moment. So the Warriors, I just don't think have the firepower to get over them. I'd honestly probably take the Clippers over them at this point.
Yeah.
I think the Clippers as like this 4-headed dragon. Do they look very good right now? No. Are they starting to trend in the right direction? Absolutely. I would take them over the Warriors. I think the Warriors are a 10 seed, honestly. They might figure it out in the regular season. They might end up being a 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe. They might figure that out because Wiggins is still a young, athletic guy. Looney is still a good player. Steph Curry is still Steph Curry. But I just, like you said, I don't see them winning a 7-game series against anybody in the top 8 in the West.
Damn, Wiggins is still only 28. Before the show, we were just Googling players, and I thought they were like 48, be 35. Like, this is another shocking one. Like 28, that's young. That's like the prime of your career.
Been in the league 9 years.
That's wild.
Yeah. I mean, look, good for him. He fucking won a ring. No one ever thought he was going to after the way it started. Yeah, DM saying Canadian Jordan. There's better. I would think that you've got to have better options than him. I know that. I thought Maple Jordan was his nickname. Wasn't it Maple Jordan?
I think that's what. Well, yeah, because Murray is Maple Curry because he's got the 3. But honestly, I think SGA is going to take over the Canadian Jordan because he's ridiculous.
SGA is the Canadian Dwayne Wade.
Yeah, I mean, with the
or Canadian Kobe. No one's Canadian Kobe, dude. What are we doing here?
Honestly, I think Canadian Kobe because he can do everything. His passes, like that's the thing. In end of game situations, Thunder go to Chet a lot, but it's all driven through SGA's ability to just like Naz Reid. You know that. I don't know if it was the bucket that you tweeted yesterday, but he had the isolation on SGA where he hit a bank shot off it was like a 2-point ISO. He hit a bank shot off him. SGA brings it down the court, goes one-on-one, and then just immediately hits a mid-range fadeaway jumper, and it just looks so easy. Like that's where I feel like he's that guy that's like, all right, you just got a bucket on me. I'm about to get one right back.
I will not say a bad word about SGA. I think he's an incredible player. It's great that he and Devin Booker and Anthony Edwards are probably all going to be considered top 10 players by the end of this year because they are Devin Booker and SGA probably already are. I think a lot of people have them in the 7 through 10 range. Anthony Edwards is getting there because the league needs more young guys to be considered in that caliber of player. I love watching him play. I loved watching Rudy Gobert just sun Chet Holmgren all night last night. And I love Chet, and I think Chet's going to win Rookie of the Year. And Chet's a Minnesota guy, so like people were cheering for him in Minnesota, but Rudy was definitely on his like there's levels to this shit type of game last night, and he was like, all right, man, like I know you're like the new string bean who's going to change defense, but like let me show you that I've been doing this for a while. And he had some big dunks on him. It was good stuff. Yeah, I think we need to in the next couple of weeks we need to have a big talk about some of the teams that are trending upwards. We got to talk about the Thunder. We got to talk about the Timberwolves.
Magic.
We'll probably talk about
5.
the Pacers, the Magic, the Rockets. Elliot, I'm sorry, we're not going to talk about the Raptors because they are just highly mediocre, and I just don't have the time for it.
Elliot, when if we ever do a just Matt and Elliot podcast, we can talk about the Nets and the Raptors. I realized watching last night, they're the same fucking team. They like have a bunch of 3-and-D switch guys. They can only generate.
They're long as fuck.
Like, yeah, I mean, like they have a lot of guys that people would want on their teams. They have good ball movement to create shot making because they don't really have a lot of like individual shot creators that they have. They're like lacking it. Boring and terrible, but they're both like 9-8, 8-9 teams. Probably finish around 500. I cannot wait for Cam Thomas to get back. He's been doing scrimmages and practice, so hopefully I'll have that back in my life.
Here's what sets the Nets apart from the Raptors. The Nets are not afraid to trade guys when they know that their value is high. The Raptors have never been more afraid to trade guys when their value is high. And I know that kills Elliot. And Elliot, you're welcome to jump in here if you want to say anything about it. But watching Masai just hold, and I hate talking about players as assets, which I know we do when we have these discussions, but watching him hold on to these guys who are going to reach greater heights on other teams on a roster that just doesn't fit together. I like my team's the worst in basketball, and I'm still frustrated for the Raptors watching this happen. You're muted.
You're muted.
There we go.
Yeah, I want them to trade Siakam because he's not thriving there, and he's like one of my favorite players ever. But I'd rather.
Hey, you just want him to thrive. You just want your little boy to spread his wings, right? You want him to go be the Giannis of another team.
Yeah, just. And he'll walk for free probably.
Yeah, that's the other big thing with the Raptors is that if you don't trade them, they're going to go elsewhere, and you're going to get shit in return. And it's not even like baseball. Like baseball, Bryce Harper walks from the Nats, you get a conditional pick in the first round. Like you get a compensation pick to make up for it. In basketball, you have a lotto pick or a guy who's going to get a $250 million contract walk, unless they choose to do a sign and trade like LeBron did when he went to the Heat. You're not getting anything. You're not getting a dime.
We don't even own our pick this year.
Well, I mean, I don't think you're going to be that bad that your pick would be that good this year. You want other people's picks.
If we traded Siakam, we would be able to tank a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, but there's just no value in it without your own pick. Who has your pick?
Spurs, I assume.
Can you get it back? Can you trade back for that pick? Can you be like, you know who would be really good next to Wemby? Siakam. OG. Malachi.
Send Pirtle back.
No,
Send Pirtle back again. Pirtle just keeps going from the southern tip of our country to fucking Canada. Constantly. That would be hilarious. That would actually be the funniest timeline if Pirtle ended up.
Our best friends, so like they gotta be together.
Yeah. Just keep moving him around. I'm with it. Yeah, just trade the two of them for Wemby. That's what you want, right?
Seems fair.
Don't the Raptors have the guy that was in that Adam Sandler movie too?
No, I think we caught him.
Hernan Gomez or whatever.
Maybe,
Yeah, pretty sure.
I think, I don't think he's on a team. I'm not going to
Man.
look it up because you'll hear me clacking away on my keyboard, but I don't think he's on a team. He's not that good. I mean, like he's good. He's obviously incredible, but he's not
NBA
NBA
good.
good. Yeah.
You don't have to preface that every time.
I feel like I do because I had to explain recently what the meaning of the phrase "the best ability is availability" like at length. And Modai and I still disagree on what that phrase means.
I think it's I defended it too hard, as if it was a real thing. And
You said it was the yeah. I mean, you literally put together a list of 15 criteria for a good player, and you put availability before actual ability, which definitely hurt my argument.
Yeah, it's just crazy that like the Raptors, after making noise to get Kawhi, knowing he was a 1-year rental, just refuses to trade after that. It's like trading your best players got you a ring. Why don't you keep doing that? I don't know. At least trying.
Why would you get away from the thing that worked really, really well? Honestly, that's how they got Kyle Lowry. Kyle Lowry was not drafted by the Raptors. He was on multiple teams, including the Rockets, before he got to that. And he
was on the Sixers. Was he drafted by the Sixers?
I don't think Masai did that. I think that was
close. It was prior to his administration, but like he's one of your best players ever, and you did not draft him. So this need to, and I understand, like I don't know if it's hard for Masai to trade guys. I don't know if it's like you want to keep guys in Toronto to like build a culture. I don't know what it is.
He just overvalues them. He got used to like ripping people off. Like he had like 3 consecutive trades that were just like brutal ripoffs. And then now everyone's aware that he's going to try to rip you off and like won't trade with him because he's turning down 3 first-round picks for OG.
Yeah, which is crazy to me. Like, I'm sorry, that's crazy to me. OG is really, really good if you're contending. If you're a 500 team, what value does he bring you?
He does absolutely nothing for us right now.
Yeah, and it's tough. And like again, if I was a Raptors fan, I would probably be upset to lose these guys that I've loved since they were drafted. But at the same time, it's like if I want to win a title again, if I want to be in the playoffs, if I want to make noise in the playoffs, I gotta trade these guys. I gotta do it. And I'm not Masai. I don't know why when everyone else keeps telling him to zig, he keeps zagging, but I think if he keeps it up, he's going to lose his job. And, he could have come and been the GM for the Wizards a few years ago. We made him a big offer.
I remember that.
And he hasn't won shit since we made him that offer. So the Wizards stink is on that man.
Hey, Raptors still up 6 against the Suns right now.
Lakers just beat the Pistons by 26.
Okay. Not particularly impressive. Pistons real bad.
Well, I mean, the Pistons
are the worst team in the league officially.
Monty did say that they had 6 guys go after a loose ball in practice yesterday, so he wouldn't want to be whoever plays the Pistons next. I feel pretty good about the fact that who just beat the Pistons? The Wizards.
Yeah.
Back-to-back games against the Pistons. My teams have shown them that they are the worst team in the league. And then my Wizards also just lost to the Magic, so that's not great.
It's okay. Magic are good.
The Magic are good. And if anyone's going to beat the Wizards, it should be the fundamental state of Magic, shouldn't it?
I wonder when I have tickets to a Magic game that we got, and my son gets to go high five a player. I don't know. I wonder if we can play.
Which player are you going to pick?
A letter.
I mean, I assume it's like at the tunnel and they high five people. I don't think I get to pick, but
take the worst, the lesser of the 2 Wagner brothers. Take Mo Wagner.
I'm gonna duck him out in the Michigan apparel.
Yeah, it'd be like taking Robin Lopez instead of Brooke Lopez. Like Brooke Lopez gets enough shine. Let's give Robin his day in the sun.
Hey, Mo Wagner's thriving right now.
Yeah, because he's on a team with Franz Wagner.
I think it might be the Knicks. I feel like because that's Valentine's Day. I don't know. I know it's in February, so I'm like looking at their schedule.
There's no way for us to confirm this for you. So on that note, I think it's a good time for us to end the episode.
All right, good call.
Ferentinos, always a pleasure. Elliot, thanks for jumping on video and talking with us a little bit. We will be back next week. Modai will be back with us as well. I know this is a chaotic episode. Really, truly, I don't know if any of our hearts were in this outside of talking about the in-season tournament, and that's okay. We'll be back next week with more firm topics. If you're listening to us, if you're watching us, follow, like, subscribe, comment, rate and review, send me money on Venmo, subscribe to Ferentinos' OnlyFans, send me t-shirts in the mail. There's a lot of things you can do. We will be back, same time, same station. We will see y'all next week.
Ciao.